The scene was set in a bustling Chinese arena, one buzzing with anticipation as Caitlin Clark and her teammates prepared for their first game on this international tour. The crowd, a mix of locals and global basketball enthusiasts, filled the space with a sense of awe. Clark, a household name by now, stood out even in warm-ups. Her sharp gaze and quick movements revealed why she had become a sensation back home. She was used to the spotlight, used to handling the pressure of being one of the most talented young players of her time. But nothing quite prepared her for what was about to unfold that day. But before we proceed further, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. Nalyssa Smith, another powerhouse on the court, was playing her first game in China. The expectations surrounding her were palpable. Fans knew her for her fierce plays and relentless energy. Smith was one to watch. Her athleticism and bold style spoke volumes before she even touched the ball. But there was a glint in her eye that day, something that hinted at an intensity even higher than usual. The game began with the usual theatrics, the referee's whistle, the quick exchanges of possession, and the bursts of speed from both teams. Clark moved like she always did, confidently controlling the floor, setting up plays with a kind of casual expertise. Her jump shots and passes drew gasps from the audience, as even those unfamiliar with her talent quickly understood why she was so highly regarded. Smith, on the other hand, played with a different rhythm, a pulse that kept the opposing team on edge. The tension between the teams grew subtly, almost like a low simmer. Both sides pushed hard, with shoves and elbows sneaking in during plays. It was part of the game, part of the dance that athletes knew too well. But there was something simmering beneath Smith's fierce expressions, a kind of frustration mixed with determination. In the second quarter, as Clark dribbled down the court, weaving through defenders, a sharp movement from Smith caught her eye. There it was, a tangled mess of arms, as Smith jostled with a defender, who wasn't giving an inch. The referee's whistle cut through the noise, but Smith's face remained unmoved. The call wasn't in her favor. The crowd stirred, sensing that things were heating up. Moments later, it happened. In a flash, the intensity of the game shifted from competitive to combustible. Smith had been guarding her mark closely, her body language daring the opponent to try something bold. An elbow flew, the kind that usually goes unnoticed if the timing is slick. But this time, Smith took it personally. She squared up, eyes locked on her opponent, the charged air between them suddenly palpable. The two exchanged sharp words, audible enough for nearby players to tense up. Clark, who had just passed the ball and was moving into position, saw it unfold. Her eyebrows shot up, mouth slightly open as if halfway through a comment. But she didn't say anything. Smith had already stepped forward, and then the push came, swift and firm, enough to set everything in motion. The crowd erupted into a mix of surprised yells and shocked murmurs. It was like a dam had burst, all the bottled-up tension releasing at once. The opposing player, not one to back down, retaliated. Now it was more than just basketball. It was pride, heat, the kind of raw emotion that turns sports arenas into coliseums. Clark stood a few feet away, eyes wide, not moving, as though she had momentarily forgotten the game around her. There was something surreal about seeing teammates in the middle of a scuffle, the sound of sneakers screeching and officials' whistles piercing through the chaos. The referees rushed in, breaking up the shoving, their voices drowned out by the crowd and the collective gasp from those on the bench. Smith was held back, her jaw clenched, muscles tensed as if daring anyone to come closer. Her opponent, while being ushered away, barked something under her breath that didn't go unnoticed by Smith. It was one of those moments where time seemed to stretch thin, with everyone unsure if things were truly over or about to escalate again. Clark finally moved, slowly exhaling as if she'd been holding her breath the whole time. The expression on her face was a mixture of shock and something else, a silent acknowledgement that this wasn't the kind of game they'd expected. But Clark was nothing if not adaptable. She shook her head, eyes narrowing as if to remind herself that the show must go on. The officials conferred, players milled around with heated glances, and the crowd waited for the final say. The announcer's voice crackled over the speakers, delivering the expected calls, technical fouls, warnings, a brief timeout. Smith sat down on the bench, still seething, the fire in her eyes refusing to dim. Clark exchanged a glance with her, not with disapproval, but with a kind of unspoken agreement. Smith was there to play hard, but today had brought out a side of her that few had witnessed on such a stage. Coaches circled their players, offering hushed instructions, trying to reset the energy. The atmosphere was thick, buzzing like a live wire. When the game resumed, there was a cautious quality to it, as if everyone had silently agreed to play without crossing invisible lines. Clark resumed her role, dribbling, passing, shooting, but the easy smile she sometimes wore during games was gone. Her movements were sharp, efficient, as if she were playing against an unseen opponent. Smith, now back on the floor, took a deep breath, letting her body find its usual rhythm. The crowd hadn't quite settled. They watched her with a heightened awareness, the tension from before leaving a mark. But she played with a determination that bordered on defiant, reclaiming her space and showing why she was one of the most formidable presences on the court. The game pressed on, with each basket and defensive stop dragging the focus back to the game itself. Yet the scene from earlier hadn't really left anyone's mind. There was something unforgettable about Clark's expression in that moment of stillness amid the chaos, her poise tested in a way she hadn't anticipated. The audience, now invested in more than just the score, watched for any hint of lingering tension between teammates, but Clark and Smith moved with a shared purpose. Their silent communication was telling. Smith's aggressive play hadn't fractured their trust. If anything, it reinforced a fierce loyalty only understood between competitors. The game's final minutes ticked down with the arena still electric, each point met with cheers that echoed off the high ceilings. Clark led a final offensive push, showcasing her precise shooting and sharp court awareness. Smith joined in, her focus unbroken, moving as if she had erased the earlier moment from her mind. When the buzzer sounded, signaling the end, the player's body language relaxed, but the look in Clark's eyes suggested she'd be replaying parts of this game long after leaving the court. In the locker room, the atmosphere was mixed, a blend of relief and residual adrenaline. Clark's voice, steady as always, cut through the murmur, directing praise and critique in equal measure. Smith sat, head down for a moment, before meeting Clark's gaze with a half smirk, as if to say, "Can you believe that?" Clark didn't return the smile, but her eyes softened, acknowledging what Smith already knew: they had each other's backs, even when tempers flared and fists nearly followed. Their first game in China would be remembered for more than just a win or a loss. It was a lesson in controlled chaos, a showcase of intensity that comes when passion spills over. Smith's outburst would become the stuff of locker room jokes and half-serious warnings, while Clark's stunned silence would be recounted with chuckles. The court in that packed Chinese arena had become the stage for something far beyond points and rebounds. It was a place where the unexpected rose to meet even the most seasoned players, testing not just their skills, but their resolve to keep playing no matter what. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more engaging content. We thrive on your feedback, so be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Until next time, keep discovering and stay tuned.